2025 on the horizon, new players bound to be the center of attention come next NBA draft. Given the loaded talent of today's game, many respectable role players dominating overseas. A few guys all of a sudden decide to retire before age 28. Just 7 years ago, many one and dones were viewed as promising prospects. After 234 career games, a mysterious shoulder injury, former #1 pick Markelle Fultz might have already played his final game in the NBA. Frank Ntilikina most likely will never play in the league again. Dennis Smith Jr. still a free agent. Josh Jackson been out the league since 2022. Other players drafted after, already forgotten names that haven't crossed your mind in years. The atrocious Jerome Robinson and Jared Clover been nothing but extraordinary bad in the NBA. Outright absolute travesties. From injuries to massive busts, the NBA waits for absolutely nobody. Many guys given more chances than deservingly so might only take one more injury, and certain players' careers might be over. Starting with king of unfulfilled potential, Ben Simmons of the Brooklyn Nets. The game absolutely passed him years ago. No discipline, no work ethic, takes zero accountability compared with the terrible back injuries. Nets anticipated to buy him out. The best thing to happen for him going forward, if Boston somehow picks him up, ends up winning a ring, giving us all the middle finger. Being 6'10 with God-given talents, the now 28-year-old might one day regret his decisions not developing his game when healthy. Since that Game 7 meltdown versus Atlanta, attempted only 2 threes, his game looked like he aged 10 full years. Even his biggest defenders can't back him no longer. No other player this generation wasted the talent more so than the guy who was getting real LeBron James comparisons. No reasonable contender with a good locker room will want to deal with such a lazy player who cares more about the NBA lifestyle than the actual NBA grind. Sure, Ben Simmons still a great defender and playmaker. His passing can only take him so far, being a zero scoring threat. Doesn't penetrate to collapse any defenses, still passes up open layups, not assertive despite being in a contract year. Plays like he'd rather be anywhere but on the basketball court. Let's not pretend he's suddenly going to turn it around. If he couldn't find that work ethic when healthy, what makes you think he's grinding now with bad knees and a worse back? All that offseason talk about the revenge tour, everybody had enough. By now, most fans forgot he's still in the NBA. Once that contract's up, don't be surprised when Ben's dropping Will Chamberlain numbers at your local LA fitness gym. Lonzo Ball of the Chicago Bulls, the once promising 6'6" playmaking specialist, might not even see another 20 games in the league when his body absolutely breaking down at the young age of 27. Many players his age supposed to be entering their primes. The eldest of the Ball brothers looked like an absolute shell of himself after accepting his player option of $21 million, but after this season, Ball will have made over $113 million in earnings, way more deserving than his on-court production. After playing just 3 games, sprains his wrist, out for a month. If it's not his knee problems, it's other things. Realizing the BBB shoes, a huge reason that likely contributed to his injury, looking like one of the biggest what-ifs from playing his most impactful ball early 21-22 season. The Bulls were first place in the East at one point, looked like a terrific 3-and-D point guard, excelling in the Drew Holiday type role, smart instincts, high IQ, from 2 knee surgeries with the Bulls to having a new meniscus from a donor. Now things getting extra spicy, ideas of him possibly joining younger brother LaMelo in Charlotte. Still being on minutes restrictions, every time Lonzo's in pain, many will simply hold their breaths, never being 100%. If he manages to play over 30 games on the season, his future could involve a vet minimum deal. However, another significant injury might mean the end of his NBA career entirely. The next few months will be crucial in determining whether Lonzo Ball can define the odds or if he just becomes another cautionary tale of unfulfilled potential ruined by injuries. Cam Reddish of the Los Angeles Lakers, way too inconsistent, not even Duke alum JJ Redick can save him at this point. His efficiency, much better, good on D, but the offensive struggles won't help him become a key rotational player. Now 25 years old, former 10 pick, not showing signs he'll become a formidable player. Likely on his way overseas, after his deal's up. Darvin Ham last season gave him tons of opportunity, even started 26 of 48 games, had a little bit of hope last season before hampered by ankle problems, super frustrating, dating back to his time at Duke, playing behind Zion and RG Barrett. With all the upside in the world, failed to develop any good role player qualities, couldn't figure out how to contribute when he didn't have the ball in his hands. Many held on to the narrative, believing he'd be a star and second coming of Paul George, having similar qualities. But everybody finally came to their senses after playing for 4 different teams in 5 seasons, still a flawed identity, a huge mental roadblock, lacks confidence when surrounded by good players, only looks good here and there for the Lakers due to their awful perimeter defense. One more injury, the NBA will not tolerate any patience for Cam Reddish. The only thing he's proven since signing with the Lakers, he's nothing more than a minimum type player. James Wiseman, first game with the Pacers, blows out his Achilles, most remembered for being picked ahead of LaMelo Ball, a decision Golden State might forever regret. Soon to be 24 years old, never developed properly, drafted in the lockout year, no NBA combine or training, barely played in college, banking on high school hype, brings lots of Darko Milicic vibes, got a free ring riding the bench, team option next season. Why would Indy want to give him another shot? Way too underdeveloped. Golden State system too complicated for him, couldn't prove himself in Detroit, remembered for having a disgusting 11-76 record in a Pistons uniform, hasn't proven to have good mentality, one of those players who coasted through talent and size alone, but when things got difficult and there's lots of attention to detail being learned, Wiseman simply seemed lost. Basically missed 2 full seasons his first 5 years. Another annoying setback, still hasn't played more total games than Anthony Bennett. Proved absolutely nothing to show he could be a long-term NBA player. Too much unavailability, blessed to be born 7 feet and dominate high school. One of the most awkward players on the court, terrible hand-eye coordination, no body control, no balance, no jump shot, didn't appear to learn a single thing from Steph or Draymond, likely on his way overseas, and he might even struggle to dominate against grown men with better IQ elsewhere. Marvin Bagley III. It's been how many years and he still don't have a real identity besides being on losing teams, putting up empty numbers, way too one-dimensional, great at scoring down low but only finishes with his left hand, terrible on D, below average rebounder for being 6'10", commits more turnovers than assists, fouls twice as much as handing out dimes. If he can't even get more than 9 minutes a game on the struggling Wizards, no way can he be a rotational player for the other 29 teams. If this season the end of his NBA career, at least the dysfunctional Pistons gave him 3 years $37.5 million when nobody else was bidding against him. Realistically, Bagley wasn't even worth the minimum. Being stagnant since his rookie year will forever be remembered being picked ahead of Luka Doncic. Many NBA fans who don't watch the Kings, Pistons, and Wizards can't even think of one single Marvin Bagley highlight on top of their head. Couldn't even prove he's actually better than James Wiseman while playing for Detroit. Both the two super similar, being second overall picks, grew up playing the game, being bigger and more athletically gifted than everybody else, never experienced not being the best player on their teams until reaching the NBA, then they just hit a wall. Super injury prone, played 62 games his rookie year, still his most in a season, ended up failing to suit up more than 50 games in each of his following 5 years, a weird fit in today's NBA, too weak to play the 5, can't stretch the floor to play the 4, abysmal defense, a word that don't exist for him. Bagley can score 20 points here and there, but absolutely empty stats. 2025 being a make or break season, another one of those guys who can ball out for 3 straight games, trick many people believing in false hopes of upside, then gets sidelined for a month with injury, loses all his momentum, many then quickly forget about him, comes back looking rusty. Bagley simply not making a good enough impression to want to remain in the league. Unless Washington trades him, his time could be running out. Mo Bamba. It's a miracle the former 6th pick of the 2018 draft still manages to end up on an NBA roster. 4 teams last 3 seasons, averaging under 5-4 with the Clippers. continues to get pushed around easily, stands out the perimeter, allergic to contact, forgetting that he's 7 feet with a wingspan longer than Rudy Gobert, a non-existent lob threat. If he can't improve a lick, playing with all-time playmakers LeBron or James Harden, nobody can save him. All these years, still hasn't developed one single post move, his best offense being a catch and shoot guy. Starting the season 5 of 20 from 3, only taking 3 more shots from inside the arc, all that hype for what? Plays like he's sleepwalking 95% of the time, except for the other 5% he got into it with Austin Rivers. Forever known for his name being in the song before getting drafted, way more memorable for that than any NBA highlights. Having all the physical tools with zero mentality, Bamba easily beat down on himself for missing a shot or committing a silly foul, got beat out in Orlando's rotation for a guy named Cam Birch. The opposite of having the Mamba mentality. Just like several players on this list, one thing many of them have in common, having the Bamba mentality. It'd be an absolute travesty if a different team was to sign him after this season. Chris Duarte, 13th pick 2021 class, already 27 years old, rise deeper on the bench from averaging 13 as a rookie to under 8 and under 4, now barely 2 a game, getting no runs with the mediocre Bulls. At one point, he looked like the best player in his class for about a week or so. Indy will forever regret taking him over Alperen Sengun or Trey Murphy, being selected during a time when the Pacers were still in win now mode with Malcolm Brogdon, TJ Warren, and Sabonis all on the team. But when the franchise finally hit the restart button with a young promising backcourt, Duarte's services no longer needed. Given his age now, coming off the bench, he'll be viewed as the guy taking minutes away from the young players. Was simply a mature rookie with a low ceiling, a victim of his circumstances, needs to get on some hot streaks to continue remaining in the league. Otherwise, he'll just be another forgotten player who didn't last after his rookie contract. Johnny Davis, the least accomplished player on this list, former 10th pick drafted 2 years ago, looking like the first lottery pick his class to go overseas, shaping up to be yet another classic Wizards bust, picked 2 spots ahead of future All-Star Jalen Williams. The 22-year-old only shines in garbage time. On his way to reaching over 100 career games, at least Washington declined his 4th-year player option for 2026. If they keep having him ride the bench till season's end, his chances of trying to improve might have already ran out. Team clearly trying to tank, but if Davis not worthy being a tank commander, there's absolutely no purpose for him to continue being an NBA player.